Hello, this is my first tutorial ever, so if it helps anyone, I just may do more. Anyway, let's get started. So first of all, I recommend you have a map, or at least like a small portion of the map, like something like this, so you can see how the lighting will affect your models and the colors of your models. Next, go into the Explorer, find lighting, and click on it. Not inside of it, click on it. And then you'll see a property called ambient. This is the most influential property because it's basically going to decide the theme of your game. So if you feel like your game is going to be like a warm, sunny day at the beach, you should pick something like, you know, orange, red, or yellow, something along the lines of that. Or if you think your game's gonna be like a cool, maybe like a gloomy day even, you should pick blue, purple, and pink colors. Personally, I'll pick um, blue or purple because I think it's gonna contrast with the green very well. Since you see my whole map is green, and making this purple will cause the green to not not pop as much. So this is very eye-catching, for example. Like if it catches your eye, like this, it's way less neutral and not that noticeable. So I used, the colors of my map to determine what the ambient should be and also what theme you know, I should choose. Next is the brightness. So the brightness is going to decide, if your game is going to be, a bit dark or brighter. Personally, I think anything above a 3, maybe even a 4, is just way too much. I recommend you keep it in the 0 to 3 range. 0 if you're going for like a night time. But as you can see, it's 0, but there's still light and it's still too bright. So that's where you go at the clock time and change it to like 2 a.m. for example. Now it's way darker and it doesn't pop off as much. Anyway, I'll change this to like 12. Next, the for my game, I'll do like a 3 on the brightness. I want it to be pretty bright. It should be pretty bright. Now you have environment, diffuse scale, and specular scale. So as you can see, it just makes everything a lot vibrant and way brighter. So I recommend leaving it at 1. Specular scale, at 0, it's actually way more vibrant. I like it adds reflections. See, like look here, it adds a lot of reflections, and also causes it to be less vibrant and contrasted. You know, I'll pick 0. I pick actually 1 because I don't think making it that contrasted is a good play. It should still have uh, a bit, yeah. So global shadows, that's just gonna turn on and off the shadows. A lighting style just sets, if you set it to realistic, you can have a new property called shadow softness, and you can make shadows either very sharp like that or very soft. 0.2 is a default, and it's a nice solid middle ground for both. Here's it up close. Um, so it's basically a nice, you know, a nice middle ground. I like realistic. Anyway, the outdoor ambient. So it's useful for when you have like a house or like a shed that's fully boxed in, and you want the ambient inside of the shed to be different from the one outside. So the outdoor ambient is going to be outdoor stuff, but as you can see, it still changes. It still changes even with this, because the outdoor ambient, like the outdoors, uses the normal ambient and the outdoor ambient. It uses both of them. So the inside one, when you're in like a shed, a fully boxed off shed, it's gonna use just this one. I'm pretty sure. Next, you'll have, of course, the clock time, which I showed. Sets it to either nighttime or daytime. I'll set it to like a 12. And the geographic latitude will move the sun this way, so you can see this moves it that way, and this moves it this way. I'll make this like a 22 and 12. Yeah, the shadows are now top down, which is pretty nice. Next, you have exposure compensation. Don't touch it. Leave it at 0. I think it's fine. Just leave it at 0. There's other methods to make things brighter and darker. The atmosphere. This is a fog. So the density is how thick the fog is going to be. At 1, it's just going to copy off your sky, and if you offset it, it will change the color of it to be a more blue, to match the sky more of it, and sometimes you'd want that. Personally, I like keeping it like a middle ground, so something like this. And for this game, I'll put it at like yeah, this is fine. Yeah. Now you have a haze and the glare effect and the color and decay. So if you go down, or actually if you go very high up, adding this haze will give you like a horizon line, a perfectly straight one. So down on the ground, it's just a horizon line, and you can adjust, how big it is. Keep in mind that it like has a gradient if it's big, and when it's low, it doesn't have a gradient. Now the glare, it's useful for when the sun is like close to the edge, like that. Turning on the glare will make the atmosphere have a lighter color where the sun is. So if you go down, you see it has this lighter effect. I really don't like this effect, so I'll make it 0, and I'll make my sun back to being head on. Now comes the sky. So I'm using this blue gradient sky, but to find skies, you can go into the toolbox and search up sky or skybox, and you'll have a bunch of skies pop up. Pick anyone, for example this, but be careful when you're choosing your skies that you know where the direction of the sun is coming from. So in this one, for example, the sun is coming from here, and it's very noticeable. For example, this one too. The sun is coming from here. You can see the direction of it. So if possible, place your actual sun, which is here, to match with the sun that's in the skybox. So it's hitting the clouds in a good direction. Or just pick one where it's less noticeable, like this. Well, this is a bad example, but you could maybe get away with putting it like here or here or here, somewhere around, because it's not a pinpointed direction from where it's coming from. Or don't use, just use a grainy one like me, like this. And to add in clouds, Roblox actually has its own clouds. Go into the workspace, terrain, and add in clouds. As you can see, Roblox has clouds now. Personally, I don't like this because of these low textured fragments when the cover is low. When you increase the cover, it looks way smoother and it has less of them. And this, for example, like a 0.9, it's very good. But I won't be using it. Next, we'll have bloom. So when you look at the sky, the sun, and you're clicking enable and disable, then it doesn't do anything. Well, that's because when you make it disabled, Roblox just uses the default bloom it has, which is this, so it doesn't do anything. To actually disable it, you have to turn off the intensity, and now you can actually see the difference. With the size, you can adjust how big that glow effect is, and with the intensity, you can adjust how bright it is. With the threshold, you can adjust also how bright it is, but this also works for parts. So, for example, if I were to go and go up to a white part, like this one is neon, and this one is just smooth plastic. So with the threshold, you can adjust. The lower it is, the everything glows, and the bigger it is, the less it glows. So this, for example, will just make the neon parts glow, and this will stay off, and the sun also glows clearly. Next, you have depth of field. This is like a blur effect. So if I were to enable it, you can see how stuff in the distance gets blurred, and stuff up close gets also blurred a bit. So to adjust for the stuff far away, you can use in focus radius to adjust what far away is considered, because Roblox doesn't know what far away is. You're telling it. Let's say 15 studs is like far away. Then you will change the far intensity to just the blur. So you know, if it's at 1, it's immediately just a huge blur. Or you could make it less, so it gradually increases as you go further. The focus distance is for things up close. So when you come close to something and it blurs like that, it uses the focus distance to determine what's close. And the near intensity is how big that blur is. Next, you have sun rays. You won't be able to see this effect at first, so go to File, Studio Settings, Rendering, and set Editor Quality Level to 21. It won't work if it's less than 21. Now when you look into the sky, into the sun, and uncheck enabled, it's like this outer ring. It's like this another glow effect from the sun. You may be thinking like, well, why was that useful? We had bloom. Well, first of all, this one extends further. It can be, you know, brighter or less brighter. And the spread adjusts. You can see what it does. It's like you can either make it a ring, you can make it all in one point. It's very cool. And if you were to obstruct the sun with like a part, so if I were to block the sun off, you see these rays? That's the sun rays. And it's really cool seeing it when you're like in a forest and it's going through the branches. But yeah, that was the default ones. There's also something called color correction effect. It can be like a tint, so you see the tint color. It can be like a tint, which is just like an overlay that you add to your game. It's default. It's set to just full white. It's useful for when you're like diving and you're in the water, and you want to showcase that, so you make it, slightly blue, or like you're wearing night vision goggles, so you make it green. Um, anyway, please keep it, in the white section. Please keep it close to white. Never do full contrast where it's just the full color. That looks bad. Making it, close to white looks pretty good, whatever it is. Personally, I'll just have it off for now. The brightness, I just adjust for the brightness in your game. Mine is already pretty bright, I won't touch it. The contrast is adjust for the contrast, but as you can see, like if I were to make it darker, everything is darker. My whole screen just gets a gray tint. So if I'll raise it a bit, actually, like a 0.1. But the saturation though, if I were to make that -1, it doesn't add a gray tint. It just makes everything, all the colors in my game individually gray. So that's also useful. For very, childlike games like the mine, you should have the saturation and contrast, you know, um, increased a bit. Color correction is just post-processing, basically. You can see it can do a lot. This is just a minor adjustment, and it already fixes the sky a bit and all my colors. It just looks way brighter and shinier. There's also another effect called the blur effect. It just a blur. It's useful for when you're like in a menu and you want stuff to be blurred out, or when you're like teleporting someone into another game, so you add a blur effect. Uh, don't use it other than that. It's just used for, stuff like that. So yeah, that was the lighting tutorial. I can maybe teach you guys how to use, VFX to make like fountain dribbles, maybe like a waterfall, and like wind, blowing off and stuff like that. But maybe in another tutorial, since this was getting pretty long, and it's also going to be my first ever tutorial. So please give me positive feedback or just any feedback, and yeah.